Dear listeners, a new day and a new story to discuss. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that interests me. Listen and write down what you think about this situation. I'm interested in your opinions. Let's get one thing straight from the start. I'm not the hero of this story. Heroes don't lurk in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But if you're here for a tale of betrayal and revenge, served cold and calculated, then, my friend, you've come to the right place. I'm Alex, by the way. A name you'll forget by the time this is over, but the story, oh, you'll remember this. It was a Thursday when my world started to crumble, not with a bang, but with a hushed whisper. Thursdays were Eliza's late work nights, or so I was led to believe. Imagine my surprise when, driving back from a friend's place, I decided on a whim to surprise her with her favorite takeout and found her car not at her office, but parked outside a dimly lit bistro. Curiosity killed the cat, they say. Well, I was about to learn why. Walking into that bistro felt like stepping into another dimension. There she was, Eliza, not alone as I would have hoped, but laughing, touching the arm of Oliver. Oliver, or just a friend from college. My gut twisted, not from jealousy. No, it was the betrayal, the lie so blatantly paraded before my eyes. I approached them, my steps measured, my heart a cage of ice. Eliza, fancy seeing you here. The look on her face, that fleeting mask of guilt before she smoothed it into surprise. Alex. What are you doing here? Oliver, the snake, slid out of his chair, all charm and smarm, extending a hand I had no intention of shaking. Alex, right? Heard a lot about you. Heard a lot about me? In what context? I wondered as I ignored his hand, my eyes locked on Eliza. Seems I could say the same. The drive home was a symphony of silence and tension. The kind of silence that screams, loaded with words we both avoided. I could have yelled, accused, unleashed the storm brewing inside. But why? She knew that I knew. That was enough. For now. Once home, Eliza tried to speak, to explain. Alex, it's not what you think. Oliver and I, we were just what? Catching up? I cut in, the ice in my voice sharper than any blade. Save it. I'm not interested in your lies. That night, as Eliza retreated to our bedroom and out of the couch, a plan began to form in my mind. Not just any plan, but a meticulously crafted blueprint for revenge. They say the best revenge is living well, but I beg to differ. The best revenge is making sure the betrayer feels a fraction of the pain they inflicted on you. The next few days were a blur of fake smiles and superficial conversations. Eliza, perhaps sensing the change, tread lightly around me, her guilt an almost tangible entity between us. It didn't matter. My decision was made. I began to lay the groundwork, collecting evidence of her indiscretions, documenting every lie, every secret rendezvous. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to obliterate her facade of innocence. And Oliver? He wouldn't get off easy either. A few discreet inquiries revealed interesting tidbits about his business dealings, enough to make anyone reconsider their association with him. Information is power, after all. The stage was set. The players, unwittingly, took their marks. I, the director of this tragedy, waited for the perfect moment to lower the curtain on Eliza and Oliver's deceitful little play. Revenge, they say, is a dish best served cold. Well, mine was in the freezer, chilling to perfection. As for redemption, that's a luxury neither of them deserved. So, you're back for more. You've got a taste for the darkness now, haven't you? Well, I'm not one to disappoint. Let's dive deeper into this pit I've found myself in. It's a web of lies, all right, and I'm the spider at the center, waiting. Eliza thinks she's good at this game. She believes her web of deceit is intricate enough to hold me, to keep me in the dark. But she's underestimated me. I see the strands, the patterns of her lies, and with each passing day, I'm cutting them, one by one, leaving her more exposed. I thought we could talk, Alex. Really talk, she said one evening, a week after the bistro incident. Her voice was soft, tentative, like she was approaching a wild animal. Maybe she was. Talk? I echoed, keeping my voice neutral, biding my time. What's left to say, Eliza? Everything. There's misunderstandings between us. We can work through this, she pleaded, her eyes searching mine for a glimmer of the man she thought she knew. Misunderstandings. The word tasted like poison on my tongue. All right, I conceded, folding my arms. Let's talk. She spoke of stress, of losing herself in the routine of our life together. Oliver, she claimed, was just an escape, a mistake. It meant nothing, Alex. I swear it. Nothing, I repeated, letting the word hang in the air between us. It was almost laughable. If only she knew how much that nothing was about to cost her. The days that followed were a chess match. Eliza, thinking she had appeased me, moved cautiously, attempting to mend what she had broken. But me? I was already several moves ahead, laying traps, gathering evidence of her betrayal. I contacted Oliver, under the guise of wanting to clear the air. For Eliza's sake, I said, my voice dripping with a faint concern that fooled him as easily as it would have fooled a child. Oliver was all too eager to prove his innocence, to paint himself as the misunderstood friend. I never meant to come between you two, he claimed, his voice laced with an earnestness that made my skin crawl. Of course not, I agreed, my words smooth as silk. It's all just a terrible misunderstanding. The irony wasn't lost on me. Oliver, too, was caught in my web now, and he didn't even know it. With every piece of evidence I collected, every lie I uncovered, my resolve hardened. Eliza and Oliver's deceit had woven a web that once trapped me in a haze of betrayal and pain. Now, I was turning it against them, using their own lies as the threads of their undoing. The plan was simple: expose them both, but not yet. The timing had to be perfect, the impact devastating. I wanted them to feel the full weight of their actions, to understand the depth of the pain they had inflicted. As I lay in bed each night, next to a woman I no longer knew, I rehearsed the moment of revelation in my mind. I imagined their faces, the shock, the realization that they had been outplayed at their own game. This web of lies they had so carefully constructed was about to collapse. And I, the architect of their demise, would be there to watch, to savor the moment when they realized they were caught in a trap of their own making. So, dear listener, as we peel back the layers of deceit, remember this. In the game of revenge, patience is not just a virtue. It's a weapon. Now, let's talk about Oliver. Understanding him is key to unraveling this mess. You might think you know where this is going, but trust me, there's always another layer. Oliver, in many ways, was the perfect foil to me. Where I was steady and reserved, he was charismatic and bold. The kind of man who lights up a room simply by walking into it. Eliza was drawn to that light, like a moth to a flame. And me? I became the shadow, unnoticed until it was too late. I reached out to Oliver, not as a betrayed husband seeking confrontation, but as a man wanting to understand his rival. We should talk, man to man, I suggested over the phone, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside. To what end, Alex? He asked, cautious. To clear the air, I replied, a lie wrapped in the veneer of truth. We met in a neutral place, a coffee shop where the world around us carried on, oblivious to the storm brewing in our midst. Eliza is a special woman, Oliver began, his tone rehearsed, as if he had anticipated this conversation and prepared accordingly. I never intended to come between you. I nodded, playing the part of the understanding husband. And yet, here we are, I said, letting the words hang between us. Oliver shifted uncomfortably. It was never about you, Alex. It was about me. I was selfish, he confessed, his gaze dropping to his coffee. Selfish. The word echoed in my mind, a confirmation of what I had already known. Oliver was not the main villain in this story. He was just another pawn in the game. A realization that shifted my perspective, but not my plan. I appreciate your honesty, I lied, offering him a lifeline he was too eager to grab. We all make mistakes. Mistakes. Yes, we had all made them, but only some of us were willing to admit it. The conversation with Oliver revealed more than just his guilt. It showed me the depth of Eliza's betrayal. She hadn't just turned to another man. She had woven a narrative where I was the antagonist and Oliver, the savior. It was a bitter pill to swallow, the realization that the woman I loved saw me as the enemy. But it also fueled my resolve. Oliver, for all his faults, was just a symptom of a larger disease. My focus needed to be on the cure. As I left the coffee shop, a plan began to form in my mind. Not just to expose their affair, but to reclaim my narrative. I would no longer be the victim in this story. I started to document everything. Every lie, every secret meeting, every moment of betrayal. I became a ghost in my own life, observing, recording, but never intervening. The evidence piled up, each piece a testament to their deception. And then, it was time to act. Not out of vengeance, but justice. The distinction was clear in my mind. I wasn't seeking to destroy Eliza and Oliver. I was seeking to expose the truth. I arranged for a meeting with Eliza, a final confrontation where all would be revealed. The evidence laid bare, not as accusations but as undeniable facts. I know everything, I said, the words heavy with the weight of unspoken pain. The affair, the lies, all of it. Eliza's face paled, her eyes wide with shock. Alex, there's no need for explanations, I interrupted, my voice firm. I just want you to know that I know. And that it's over. The silence that followed was deafening. Eliza had no words, and I had no more patience for lies. I walked away, leaving her with the shattered pieces of the web she had woven. In the end, it wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and moving forward, free from the shadows of deceit. Oliver and Eliza were chapters in my story, but they would not define it. So, dear listener, remember this. The truth always finds a way to the surface. And when it does, you must be ready to face it, no matter how painful it may be. You're still here, I see. Drawn in by the allure of a confrontation that promises to change everything. Well, you won't be disappointed. This is where the masks come off, where the facade crumbles, and the raw, unvarnished truth stands stark and undeniable. The day of reckoning arrived with the weight of a verdict long awaited. The air felt charged, heavy with the gravity of what was to come. I had everything laid out, every shred of evidence meticulously gathered over the past weeks, a silent testament to the betrayal that had unfolded right under my roof. I think it's time we talked, Eliza. Really talked, I said, my voice steady, betraying none of the storm raging within. She looked up, her eyes weary, a shadow of apprehension passing through them. Alex, I know I've made mistakes. Mistakes. Such a benign word for the chasm she had opened between us. I nodded, motioning for her to sit. Yes, you have. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's a series of choices. Choices that have led us here. The evidence was spread out on the table between us, a mosaic of deceit. Photos, messages, even receipts, each piece a dagger in the heart of the life we had built together. Her eyes widened as she took in the expanse of her betrayal laid bare. How did you? I've been busy, I replied, the edge in my voice sharp as a blade. While you were weaving your web of lies, I was cutting through it. The confrontation wasn't loud or violent. It was worse. It was the quiet realization, the dawning understanding in Eliza's eyes that she had been caught, that there was no way out. You were planning to leave me, weren't you? Her voice was barely a whisper, laced with a mixture of fear and resignation. To leave? No. To expose? Yes. You and Oliver, I corrected her, my tone devoid of any warmth. The conversation that followed was a dance around the inevitable. Eliza tried to explain, to justify her actions with words that felt hollow and rehearsed. I was lost, Alex. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Didn't you? I pressed, unwilling to let her off the hook so easily. Or did you simply not think you'd get caught? There was no satisfaction in seeing her crumble, no joy in her tears. There was only the bitter taste of a love that had turned to ash. I'm sorry, Alex. Truly, I am, she sobbed, her defenses finally breaking down. Sorry doesn't undo what's been done, Eliza. It doesn't erase the lies, the betrayal, I said, my voice cold, a stark contrast to the heat of my anger. In that moment, I realized that this confrontation wasn't just about Eliza's infidelity or even about seeking justice for the wrongs done to me. It was about closure, about drawing a line under a chapter of my life that had brought me nothing but pain. As I stood up, ready to walk away from the wreckage, Eliza's voice stopped me. What happens now? I turned to her, the woman I once loved, now a stranger. Now, we move on. Separately. The confrontation was over, the truth laid bare, but the road ahead was uncertain. I stepped into the night, feeling the weight of my decisions heavy on my shoulders. There was no going back, only forward, into a future where the scars of the past would remind me of the price of trust betrayed. And to you, my silent confidant, know this. Confrontation is not just about facing the other. It's about confronting oneself, acknowledging the darkness within, and choosing the light, however dim it may seem. In the quiet aftermath of confrontation, the world doesn't stop. It doesn't pause to acknowledge your pain or the upheaval that's torn through your life like a hurricane. No, it simply continues, indifferent. And so must I. The fallout of that fateful conversation with Eliza wasn't a spectacle. It wasn't dramatic. It was silent, stretching between us like the expanse of a wasteland, barren and devoid of the life we once shared. In the days that followed, our home became a mausoleum of memories, each corner a reminder of a past now tainted. Eliza moved out, her departure as quiet as the breakdown of our marriage. Our conversations, once filled with laughter and dreams, were reduced to terse exchanges about logistics and separation agreements. I'll come by on Saturday to pick up the rest of my things, Eliza said over the phone, her voice a distant echo of the woman I loved. Fine, was all I could muster, the word a leaden weight on my tongue. The emptiness of the house echoed my inner void, a stark reminder of the cost of betrayal. I wandered through the rooms, a ghost in my own life, haunted by the specter of what could have been. In the solitude of my reflections, I couldn't help but replay our final conversation, searching for some semblance of closure. But closure is a myth, a fleeting shadow always just out of reach. Instead, I found myself grappling with questions that had no answers, wounds that refused to heal. The fallout extended beyond the confines of our shattered relationship. Friends, once mutual confidants, became divided, forced to choose sides in a war they never signed up for. I watched as alliances shifted, the fracture lines of our social circle mirroring the chasm between Eliza and me. Alex, I don't know what to say, a friend confessed over a drink, the words heavy with unspoken apologies. Don't say anything, I replied, my voice hollow. There's nothing to say. As the days turned to weeks, the reality of my new existence settled in, a constant companion in my solitude. The vindication I sought through confrontation gave way to a deeper, more pervasive emptiness. Revenge, it seemed, was a double-edged sword, cutting both ways. And then there was Oliver, the man who, unwittingly or not, had played a role in the unraveling of my life. Our paths crossed occasionally in the small town that once felt like home. Each encounter was a silent battle, a test of wills, though neither of us spoke of the tempest that had passed. Alex, he nodded curtly during one such encounter, the word of fragile truce in the no-man's land between us. Oliver, I acknowledged, the name a reminder of the betrayal that linked us, an unspoken bond forged in the crucible of our shared destruction. The fallout from the confrontation left me adrift, navigating a world I no longer recognized. Eliza's absence was a void, but it was the loss of trust, of belief in the sanctity of love, that was the true casualty of our demise. In this new chapter of solitude, I began to understand that the fallout was not just the end of a marriage, but the beginning of a journey. A journey not towards forgiveness or reconciliation, but towards acceptance. Acceptance of the imperfections within myself and the understanding that some fractures are too deep to mend. To you, my unseen confessor, I offer this truth. The fallout of betrayal is a landscape marked by the scars of what was lost, but also by the faint, yet persistent, hope of what might yet be found. In the quiet aftermath, I am learning to navigate this terrain, one step at a time, towards a horizon where peace might be possible, even in the shadow of devastation. As the dust settles and the echoes of confrontation fade into silence, I find myself alone with my thoughts, a solitary figure amid the ruins of a life I once knew. It's in these quiet moments of solitude that the true weight of my journey presses down upon me, a burden both heavy and enlightening. In the aftermath, reflection becomes my constant companion. It's a cruel mirror, forcing me to confront the man I've become, the choices I've made, and the collateral damage inflicted along the way. Betrayal, I've learned, is a two-edged sword. It cuts both ways, leaving scars on both the betrayer and the betrayed. Did I go too far? The question haunts me, whispered by shadows in the corners of my empty home. The line between justice and vengeance blurred long ago, leaving me to ponder the cost of my vindication. The nights are the hardest, filled with the ghostly whispers of a past that can never be reclaimed. I'm sorry, Eliza's voice echoes in the darkness, a phantom apology for sins too deep to forgive. Yet, in the depths of my soul, a spark of something unexpected flickers to life: forgiveness. Forgiveness, not for Eliza, but for myself. For allowing bitterness to consume me, for losing sight of the man I aspired to be. It's a bitter pill to swallow, recognizing your own failings, acknowledging that the quest for retribution often leads you down a path far removed from who you once were. As dawn breaks, casting a soft light on the remnants of my shattered life, I embark on a new journey, a quest for redemption. Not in the eyes of Eliza or Oliver, but in my own. It's a path fraught with uncertainty, each step a battle between the desire to cling to the past and the need to forge a new future. I need to move on, I confess to my reflection, the words a tentative pact sealed in the quiet of the morning. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning from the pain, growing stronger in the broken places, and finding peace amidst the chaos. The process is slow, a meticulous rebuilding of a foundation shaken by betrayal. But with each passing day, the shadows recede a little more, giving way to a clarity of purpose I haven't felt in years. Redemption, I realize, is not a destination but a journey, one that begins with a single step forward, away from the ruins of the past and towards the promise of a new beginning. In this quest for redemption, I rediscover parts of myself long buried beneath layers of anger and resentment. Passions I had forsaken in the name of vengeance now offer a semblance of solace, a reminder of the man I once was and could be again. The road ahead is uncertain, lined with the detritus of broken dreams and lost love. Yet, it's a road I walk with a newfound resolve, buoyed by the belief that redemption lies not in the absolution of others, but in the forgiveness we grant ourselves. To you, my confidant in this journey of reflection and redemption, I offer this final thought. In the aftermath of betrayal, we are given a choice: to remain shackled by the past or to break free and forge a new path. I choose the latter, not because it's easy, but because it's the only way to reclaim the fragments of a life worth living. And so, with a heart both heavy and hopeful, I step into the unknown, trusting that redemption awaits not at the end of the road, but in each step taken along the way.